and welcome to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. Join us for interviews, updates and chat with artists, influencers and those that manufacture the gear that we love. Hello and welcome to 9 to 42, which is the podcast from the guys at the Guitar Show UK. And looking almost faded too early is my good friend Jason Hunt. And Jason, you explain why you've prematurely faded.
I've got a Black Crowes t-shirt on that I bought when I went to see them 3 weeks ago. Except I didn't really like the Black Crowes t-shirts that were on sale inside the venue. So I bought one off a bootlegger outside. It's been washed twice and the print is 50% gone now. So I have the authentically old t-shirt that's 3 weeks old.
And remind everybody on here how old you are, Jason.
I'm 54. Why?
Because I would have thought by now you would have known if you buy dodgy t-shirts from dodgy people, they're not going to wash. I bet it's not come up the right shape, has it?
No, the shape's fine. It's shrunk up a little, but that's okay because it was quite a long t-shirt and now it's like the proper length.
And I know our guest is desperate to get involved in this, but I do now need to mention, as the counterpoint to this, I sat with you in that posh shop when we were in LA, where you were contemplating T-shirts that were like the cost of a mortgage deposit. And now you're buying knockoffs from some geezer outside a Black Crowes gig.
I really wanted a Black Crowes T-shirt. I stood in front of the merch store for ages going, no, I don't like them. I really don't. And I understand the economics of the industry and you should buy merch from the band and they really need it. But because I understand the economics of the industry, it really frustrates me when they can't be asked to do a decent T-shirt.
We're getting a lot of agreement. There's unanimous agreement on the call. And I imagine there's a lot of people out there now walking the dogs who are now nodding at the same time, which probably looks a little bit odd. Let's crack on and let's get our guest in so she knows she can speak, because she's sat there very quietly, not knowing whether she can blurt or not. But which of course she can. We have Rebecca Downs with us today, and I can't call her a guitarist because apparently that pushed too much pressure on her. So we're going to go with singer-songwriter. I've known Rebecca for nearly 6 minutes now. Rebecca, how are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's been a long history relationship, hasn't it, ours? So.
Well, we've not fallen out yet.
Well, that's always a good thing. And I do agree on the T-shirt thing, 100%. Went to see Bonnie Raitt the last time she was here last year at the Symphony Hall, and I did buy a T-shirt, but I've never worn it because it is so bad.
Yeah, I can't understand how artists or artist management companies can't figure this out. As soon as I came out with my mate James, and we both looked at the bootleggers T-shirts, and we both went, those are so much better. So why don't they just get them to design them and actually print them properly rather than this thing that I'm wearing?
It's weird, isn't it? It's really weird. Yeah, hers were really, really bad, and I ended up buying one that was sort of the best of a bad bunch, but with no design on the back, and the design on the front didn't even have the tour name or anything like that. And you just think, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who's designing this rubbish?
Yes.
Now, I need to get involved here, only because I'm now feeling bad, right? Because a while ago, I felt I grew out of the whole T-shirt thing. But I'm now feeling terrible that I'm not supporting the artists enough. So should I feel guilty about not supporting the artists? Because to your point, I think the T-shirts, as a rule, are fairly shit.
I mean, I like to buy some item of merch. I don't need any more T-shirts. I've got a wardrobe and a box full of what are essentially black T-shirts that I've purchased over the years. I don't really need any more T-shirts. I just wish they'd sell merch that I actually wanted to buy. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but then that's not my job to figure out what the answer is. But there should be merch that's suitable. Like the black T-shirt thing, absolutely fine in my teens and my 20s and probably my 30s. But I kind of feel like I've a little bit grown out of that now. But I still go to gigs all the time. And I really want to support people because the money goes direct to the artist. And I can't a lot of the time. We went to see Jason Isbell, didn't we?
We did.
18 months ago, something like that. And I was desperate to buy a Jason Isbell T-shirt. And they were bloody awful.
It's a shame, and it is like, I know what you mean about the black thing, but it's like carrying more than one colour is actually quite a lot. So, and also, I mean, I do agree with the black thing, although I mainly wear black. I'm not today, but I mainly wear black. It is the number one popular colour, so it's like, you know, the outlay to carry T-shirts with you as an independent artist is actually quite a lot. So what we've done is we've gone, even though it's not necessarily money coming to us and it's navigating around this a little bit, is got an Amazon thing up and running as well. So if somebody wants a different colour T-shirt and all we've got on the merch table is black, they can go and they can purchase it there if they want, you know, rather than just walk away with nothing. Although it is problematic because really when you're at a gig, that's when people are going to spend money. But
Yeah,
it's tough. It is tough.
I know. I get it. I don't know what the answer is, but, you know.
But definitely design should be better. Without a doubt, the design should. So we supported Magnum, I can't remember now, before COVID, which seems like another, you know, it's like, you know, BC, isn't it? So it's like it's going back. And I remember looking at that and thinking about the design of the album we were bringing out, knowing that the design of the album is going to be replicated on the T-shirts, what is going to align with, you know, more align with their fan base, that is going to sit with ours, that's going to make some money, because obviously support tour is very expensive things to get involved with. And of course, all their T-shirts were all really intricate, all their album covers, really intricate designs. So we went for a really intricate design that we thought that might work. It's not replicating what they do, but it's still along the same lines. And it did make a difference, I think. That is still our most popular shirt, because the design looks great. Can't remember who did it now, but it was a really excellent design, and it's still the best-selling shirt.
I was going to pitch for socks, because actually, to be honest, I've got enough T-shirts, but I can always, if you could do me some socks that don't kind of, you know, dig into my ankles, and nice and fit well at the top with just a little, you know, even just your initials on it, something like that, or just the band logo, I'd happily take socks.
I mean, yeah, it could be a thing, or like, I don't know, like, you know, little scarves. Cause it's
I love a scarf.
Freezing.
I do like a scarf.
There you go. Maybe. Maybe.
We need to. I think we need to reappropriate sensible clothing, you know, and somehow educate. Because let's face it, who's going to gigs, right? It's people. It's a lot of people over 50. Okay. Who then actually...
You best talk to yourself. Like, I'm not in this conversation.
Well, no, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. I mean, look, Jace, what will the average age be at Jace Neilsborough when we go later on this year? It's going to be 40 plus, isn't it?
Oh, it is going to be 40 plus, yeah.
Right, fine, okay. So, first off, you're giving us wear that basically really is out of kilter with what we're wearing for most of the time, and makes us look a little bit old and a little bit sad. So why don't you just give us the right stuff? I like a 3/4 top with just a nice little, give me a little logo on my left nipple. I'm fine.
Well, on that note, on Amazon.
no, go on, do it, go there.
We've been asked a lot of time for hoodies, and again, as an independent artist, it's a lot to lay out for. So on Amazon, yeah, we've gone for a hoodie design, and it is just a little symbol on the left boob or left breast.
I'm with you. You've sold me.
But
you've sold me.
I would imagine, actually, thinking about how, like, a brand new hoodie is quite a bulky item, isn't it, when it's folded up and everything. So if you're having to take them to gigs, it's taking up the space of probably, half a dozen T-shirts or something, just for one hoodie.
Yeah, and also, like, so we've got a van, we carry the gear, the merch goes in first, the merch is the back of the van, you know, and that's your CDs, vinyl, T-shirts, you know, the banner, the pull-up banner that you have to have and all this sort of thing. It's, you know, we always say we couldn't do any more merch and take it to the gigs because we need a bigger van.
Now, you see, I'm looking at your album covers now, and I'm going, that More Saint Than Sinner album cover, that logo on there, I'd have that on a. You could do that on a pair of socks for me.
It's going to be very small, though, isn't it?
But I would know what it was, and if I ever came across somebody whilst just wearing my socks that knew what it was as well, there'd be an instant connection made there, wouldn't there?
I think you've got something. I might go with this. I might go with it.
I mean, literally one pair would do. I'll take one pair. I mean,
that Amazon artist merch thing, because I've looked at that. I bet you probably can do socks on that. I mean, you can pretty much do anything on that.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think you can. I mean, you've just got to set it up, basically. So what we've done is done the heritage shirts, because that's how long we've been going. So all the shirts that you now can't get from us, you can still get the designs on there. And we have trialled them as well, because we thought we'd better buy one of these to see if they're any good, just in case, you get one of the followers buys ones and it just falls apart. And they were actually really good quality. So yeah, we've got everything on there. Got all the designs, but no socks. We'll think about the socks and pants. Is that the way we're going? Or?
Well, you see, I'm a bit funny about logos on pants. I don't know about the idea, because if you think Kelvin Klein here, I'm not convinced having your name on the top band of my boxers is going to go down well at home.
No, to be honest, I don't think it would go down well anyway, to be honest with you. But
No. I mean, if it's your own name, then it's just a very fancy way of doing what your mum always used to do, isn't it?
like,
just putting your name in, So that I like the idea of knowing whose your pants are, but I think having your name on my boxers, I think might be troublesome.
it's a bit weird.
I think it's weird both ways. If I said yes, that's a great idea. I'd get me a 3-pack. You should be concerned by that.
I've had worse things said to me, so it's fine.
Yeah, but not at 2:15 on a Tuesday afternoon.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, yes. Where should we start, Jace? Because obviously we've ended up there with 15 minutes on merch.
I thought with the introduction really was slightly disingenuous as singer-songwriter, because it is also guitarist, it is also vocal coach, it is also columnist in Blues in Britain, it is also podcaster. I mean, it's the new artist portfolio career writ large, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it just has to be. That's the way things are, aren't they? And but I think it's kind of great in a way, and that you kind of have to do this as an independent artist, and the fact that you've got to have a lot of different streams, you've got to get your name out there, unless you are very lucky and have a lot of money behind you. You've really got to branch out. But it's kind of, what I tell the students as well is that what's great about that is that you're in control of everything. Okay, there's a huge amount of downsides, and we all talk about that. Like, you need a lot of money to get on in this industry now. You need thousands and thousands to push yourself. But I think it kind of makes you a jack of all trades, and hopefully master of one, not master of none. But everything's within your power. And so you may not be like, huge numbers, on social media or streaming or whatever following you. But you are reaching people, and you've got your own sort of little set of fans, although I hate the word fans and I hate the word followers. Fans is a derivative of fanatic, which, let's face it, is not that great. Followers, to me, still sounds like a cult. But anyway, I don't know what else to call people. So you cultivate, because you are having to do lots of things, you do cultivate a real sort of unique sort of following.
It's a community of people that really like, I was going through your Facebook page earlier, and it definitely has a sense of community where the fans seem to be, using that word again, but the fans seem to be talking to each other as much as they're trying to talk to you on your Facebook page as well, which is
absolutely. And there is, you could see more of that if I added you to there's a little group that somebody started, and what people tried to do, I think, with Facebook groups, like fan groups, again, I don't know what else to word it, that they just added random people. And I just thought, no, I'm not going to do that. It's just going to be whoever wants to join. It's going to be sat there. If people want to join and chat. And then if you go on there, you really do see a community. So it's very much like, okay, who's going to this gig? Shall we meet at this pub before? And who wants a lift? And shall we... And I've actually had 2 couples get together and meet, and I think one are married, that met at the gigs. And it's like, callmematch.com. You know what I mean? This is the new way. But I think that's very important. And I think because of the fact that the old gatekeepers have kind of almost disappeared, which is a bad thing and a good thing, that you can carve out for yourself this little unique sort of group of people. But it is very much a community thing. I totally agree.
I do a podcast with Marillion's lead singer, a guy called Steve Hogarth, and we've got quite an active Patreon group. So we've got a lot of patrons for the podcast. But that gives them a perfect opportunity then to form what is essentially a close community, because it's only really that group that follow and support the podcast. But it is interesting in so many ways because actually for relatively small... I mean, you, to a certain extent, you have to credit Apple for this. If you go back far enough, you have to credit Apple for getting everybody into spending small amounts of money on things. So when they got us spending 79 pence on songs and 79 pence on apps, they actually started something that has enormous power, because suddenly you can start saying to a community, well, if you throw a few quid in for what is essentially a podcast, you then get this platform and this community interaction that actually almost goes beyond the content you're paying for. And that, I think, is really, really... It's hugely empowering. And to be fair, it needs to be empowering because the rest of the model in so many ways is broken. So the recorded music model's broken and all this kind of thing. But the fact there are these routes in is really... It's really interesting. And it is, to your point, it's the people element that then join together that creates something... Because that's not why they start. They start because they want to support a podcast or get access to extra content. But then very quickly, that content doesn't become the reason why they stay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this is kind of like the new model, isn't it? I mean, Marillion sort of like they've kind of harnessed all that, haven't they? Much to their credit. They were kind of leaders in that with the Marillion days. And in fact, I've sort of got a connection with Marillion because one of the very early videos we had done is a mate of mine called Tim, who's done loads of videos for Marillion.
Mr. Sidwell?
That's it, yeah.
I was on a podcast with Tim the other day.
He's such a lovely guy. Look at this incestuous little music world. But yeah, he did an absolutely brilliant video for us when we were sort of starting out maybe 10 years ago. I'd love to get him back to do one. But again, that whole world of videos has changed, hasn't it? Where then it was like, oh, let's spend and let's really make a great video. Now it's kind of like, what can we get away with? Because that money has got to go in so many different directions now. And the kind of like the era, even for an independent artist on very sort of polished videos for YouTube is not really there anymore. But that kind of community is, I think, the way that every artist should view it. Especially, from a sort of a more grassroots level. Because I think there's still this, and I do get this vibe from students that I teach, private ones, at college, that, especially with singers sometimes, I'm not putting them down, where it's like, I want to be famous. You can tell that there's that in the background of their head. Or even they do come out and say it, like, I want to be famous. And I always say, well, what's that got to do with what you're doing here? Like, what's the connection? Because now that sort of fame, what they're talking about is like the Taylor Swift kind of massive Adele fame. That's what they're talking about. The Ed Sheeran singer-songwriter fame. That's where they're going. But that doesn't really, that's a very minute part of it. I mean, there's artists I listen to, guitarists I listen to, they've got millions of monthly followers that I think if I passed them on the street, I probably wouldn't recognise them.
Yeah.
But yet they're still making money.
That's the level of fame I want.
Yeah.
One of my earliest guitar heroes was Izzy Stradlin. Probably the least well-known member of Guns N' Roses, but wrote the vast majority of the songs. It's like there's no wonder why he's not involved in the reunion. He doesn't need to be. He's a multi-millionaire off Appetite for Destruction and Use Your Illusions. You know, but like I could walk past him and not know that it was Izzy Stradlin.
Yeah.
You know, you can't walk past Slash.
That's the real, like, that's always what I've wanted. I remember because, you know, I've been in performing bands since I was 13. And yeah, of course, you sort of like, you know, think, oh, wouldn't it be great to play Wembley and all this? But I think I've always had my feet firmly planted in reality and celebrating the small steps. Like, oh, we had more people come to that gig than we had the last one. And we had, you know, whereas I think if you're constantly striving for a lottery win, which is what it is, then you're always going to be striving for something that is probably not attainable. And also, would you want it if you got there? And also, you're going to be mentally in such a bad place because music and fame, to me, is like I don't see it sitting together that well anymore. And as you say, I think that's a great thing, but I think people do get so confused and still think that there's like somebody's going to pluck them from obscurity and suddenly they're going to be, you know, the next Adele or whatever it is they've got in their heads. And from a mental health perspective, I'm always talking to people about, no, just you're thinking about point A to point Z there. There's a hell of a lot of points in between. You may only ever get to D or F. Is that going to be enough? Like, you know what I mean? It's a totally different game now.
Well, the other thing, and I think to your point, it's a jump ahead from this, but actually it's reminding people that, look, what you're really striving to do is to be able to do that thing that you love, it be your job, and do it for the rest of your working life. Now that, at some point, that doesn't have to be into multi-millions. But if you could, given the alternative of going to train to work in the NHS or going to train, and I'm not dissing any of these professions, but given the alternative to what you might have to do, being able to forge a career and say every day of your life, I do this. This is what I do. And maybe it's a podcast on this day, maybe it's a gig on this day, and maybe it's X, but it's all loosely in the creative arts and it's loosely in the space that I always wanted to follow. That should be, that by the way, is an attainable goal. So pitch for that. And if the breaks go your way, then maybe. But actually, the thing you've set out to do, you've actually achieved. And absolutely. You know, and if you don't end up any further, I mean, and Steve's a perfect example. Steve and Marillion are a perfect example. You could walk past any of Marillion, you know, probably quite quickly actually at the pace some of them move. You could walk past any of Marillion, and you probably wouldn't notice them in the street. Okay, they to me nailed the model of that's a middle management job or a senior management job in terms of the amount of money they're pulling out of it. It's a good living, and the alternative potentially would have been an accountant or working for Marks and Spencer's or whatever it would have been. Now, is that ultimately fair? Do I think Steve Rother is one of the most talented guitarists, live guitarists on the circuit at the moment? One of the most beautifully gifted? Yes, I do. Do I think Steve Hogarth is a truly great vocalist? Yes, I do. Have either of them got the recognition they could have had? Okay, probably not. But has it stopped them having a career doing the thing that they always wanted to have a career doing? And the answer is no, it hasn't. And then you go back to the community thing and take Steve H as an example. We've got the podcast running, all fine. He responds, he reads, he knows that community of patrons. And it's a big number, and he's aware of the vast majority of them. So if you want to be connected to that, as I said at the beginning, you go in, you buy the content, but then you're part of a community, and that community includes your hero as well, or whoever it would be. And actually, is that healthy? I think it probably is.
Yeah, I think it's really healthy.
I was listening to your last podcast this morning where you've wrapped up season 2 and you were talking about the industry and you were talking about VIP packages and how important they've become for artists to generate some additional income. It's another item of merch, isn't it, really? It's buying an add-on when you get to the gig sort of thing. And you were saying that you're not at that level where you can flog VIP passes, but actually you quite enjoy meeting the audience afterwards. I mean, we should say for clarity that I supported you last week before, can't remember what it was, and I was trying to say goodbye to you at the end of the night, and you were just surrounded by all of these people, which, your audience is absolutely lovely, and it's so nice that you can kind of come out after the gig. I mean, I don't know what you did when you came off stage. You probably went and kind of had 5 minutes backstage. No, just straight off the stage and into them, which is just incredible. Because if you're a fan of an artist, that's the sort of access that you just can't get. And people had travelled a long way to see you. Didn't you introduce me to a guy that had travelled from Glasgow or something to come down to Birmingham?
Yeah, Glasgow, Shoreham. I just think, and yeah, I remember when I started it, and like the whole RD band thing. Because I've been in loads of bands up to then, and I just think there's a gratitude that every artist should have. And I always say on stage, you're the important ones, not us, because they are, and they're a real sort of almost not dying out commodity, but it's hard to get people to invest. Money's tight, come to a gig, travel, maybe stay in a hotel overnight. I mean, this is extraordinary, and even if they've come just from down the road, I don't care. I'm bloody grateful, and I do want to know who they are, and I do want to shake their hand. A lot of the time, I have to say, I know people's names, and a lot of the time I don't know people's names, and I don't want them to get upset with me because my memory is terrible for names, so I tend to call a lot of people babe and love. But there's also the thing as well of you have to be present, I think, not just on the stage, but when you said, do you have 5 minutes there? Well, I don't. I go straight from the stage, straight pretty much to the merch table. Most of the people have got everything. They've bought everything. Might be some newbies there that haven't. They might buy something or whatever. But it's that interaction. And I think at first it probably started out as, I need to do this, I need to speak to people because, I need to keep them on board, or I need to get, but now it's completely different. Like, it's a massive part of the gig for me. And why wouldn't I want to talk to people? It's lovely, isn't it? That somebody's come out to see you and they're impressed with what you do. And then you might meet some newbies like I did there that hadn't seen us before, and they're saying lovely things, and it's just fantastic, isn't it? What more could you ask for as an artist than to speak directly to the people who are listening to your music? It's a privilege for me,
Yeah. I think we should go back to the beginning, really, because we've kind of come in at where we are now. I was going to say at the end. It's not the end of your career. That's a terrible thing to say.
I bloody well hope it isn't now, after that statement.
So, coming at the present. So let's go back to the beginning. So you said you started performing at 13.
Yeah. I think my first pub performance was 13. In the little band, the school band that I was in at the time. And and I remember I had to play the bass as well, because as usual, couldn't find a bass player. So I was trying to play the bass and sing at the same time. It was atrocious.
But that's quite possibly the hardest job in the world to play the bass and sing at the same time.
I know, and everyone goes, "Oh, don't worry, you can play the guitar, so you'll be fine playing the bass line." So no, the bass line goes in the opposite direction to the voice.
Yeah.
So I ended up sort of playing the root notes when I was singing, and then playing the actual bass line when I wasn't. Atrocious.
Yeah, I did that. I've only ever gigged once as a bass player and the singer, and I did that. I just played the root notes when I was having to sing, and then got a little bit fancy when I wasn't singing.
How people do that, like Sting and that, I have no idea.
No. It is that classic sort of patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time, and it's impossible.
It's a talent that is way past me, boy.
Stinging is annoyingly talented, to be fair.
It's annoying.
Excruciatingly talented.
Ah.
I like the idea of the phrase sting and excruciating in the same sentence, so let's go with excruciatingly talented.
So I was looking on your, I don't know if you did the Wikipedia page or someone did your Wikipedia page for you, but then it says, so we skip forward 5 years, but you go to Staffordshire Uni to study fine art and art history.
I know. I don't know who did that page, actually, but I really thank them for doing it. Yeah, fine art. Because at the time, there was no... the only musical degree you could do would be sort of more of a classical one. And that wasn't my thing at all. So, yeah, fine art, because that's what... I've always been a painter and an artist as well as a singer and a songwriter, because I've been writing songs since way before I could play the guitar, but just making them up sort of thing on the spot. But so yeah, but I picked Staffordshire Uni because music has always been number one. So I was in a band at the time. I'm working with a producer for something else, so I couldn't go very far. I had to go somewhere where I could get back home to the band rehearsals and see this producer guy. And yeah, and I was listening to some of the band stuff the other day, actually, because my drummer now, Neil Ablard, was in that band with me at that time, and he had some of the recordings, and they are terrible. They are prog rock. I'm not dissing prog. I love a bit of prog, but this was bad prog rock, okay?
To be fair, bad prog rock's in a category all of its own, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a whole new genre.
Are you following the classic art student route of, like the Beatles and the Stones have followed, and I'm sure there's a million other bands that have kind of like, we go to art college, but we'll just carry on playing in bands to the point. So did you get your degree in fine art?
Yeah, I did.
Have you ever used it?
I think I use it all the time, but not in the way people assume, because I think fine art has got quite a bad rap. And, I'm a very working class girl, so there was a lot of people on that course I did not align with at all. And I thought, whoa, you're just up your own. It was really... But what a fine art degree normally teaches you is to bring everything down to that one thing that you're saying, but without wrapping it up and being really obvious about it. So I think when it comes to like merch and kind of what do I want to say on this album cover, and it kind of helps in that way, because a lot of people who do fine art go on and do marketing and work for a marketing company or stuff like that. So I think I use it all the time, but I can't paint because I live in a 2-bedroom flat, and to paint you need space, you need to leave easels set up, and I'm surrounded as I sit now by, I think it's 5 guitars and some amplifiers, and I haven't merchandise. I haven't really got the room, but yeah, I think I use it all the while, but not in how you would think.
I am now expecting a spectacular pair of socks.
To be fair, I am a lover of a decent sock, so if I did produce one, it would be high quality.
I was just thinking of all of that, taking it down, distilling everything down to a single thing, and I'm just thinking these are going to be the best socks I've ever worn.
Well, yeah, easy. Of course they would be.
So you're at art college, and you're in
Go on, Jace. Centre, Jace. Go on. You
yeah,
can
yeah.
do it.
You're in a bad prog rock band. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the bad prog rock band ends.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, by the way, because I'm still friends with all the people in it. It wasn't that bad. Sorry, guys.
So when does the Rebecca Downs band sort of start? Where does that fit in?
It started about 11 years ago now. I'd been in, oh God, I can't even tell you how many bands I've been in, from very, very heavy, almost heavy, I don't know whether you class it as heavy metal, but fairly heavy, I have to say, to all kinds of different bands, and then blues bands along the way, just kind of traditional blues bands, and then, so in and out of bands, I couldn't even tell you how many. And then I took a bit of a time out, probably about 2 years, and I just think I was wiped out with music, and I sort of felt very let down by it, I have to admit. Now I think I've, got sort of more clued up, and, I think that's probably why I'm kind of in a better state of mind now, and also better state to kind of write music and just sort of, concentrate on that. So I'd taken a bit of a time out. I'd sort of burnt out. And then I love singing so much. I mean, I just love it. And there is a reason, there's a physical reason behind that. You just take in a lot of oxygen and it makes you feel great. So there's actually a physical reason behind why people like singing. But I love singing, whether it's in a rehearsal room, whether it's on stage. I just love singing. And I thought, I've got to start something up again. So I kind of got a few guys together, a couple of guys knew some other guys, and then Steve Burkett comes along, who I've co-written with for the last, 10 years, who is basically the Rebecca Downs Band with me. We called it the Rebecca Downs Band. I didn't want to call it after me, by the way. Let's just leave that there for the record. But it was a case of, okay, it's mine and yours band, really, because we're the songwriters. He thought, look, I don't think he was, but he thought I'm too old. And he said, if we name it a band name, everyone's going to expect a load of young lads or young girls behind you. If we just call it your name, we can do what we want.
Yeah.
In regards to that. So I went along with that. Although it does come with a myriad of pressures and issues. And me and him, we meet, we have at least 2 full days a week songwriting, at least. We had one yesterday. And that is my life, really, is co-writing with Steve. And that's where the band came, that's where the Rebecca Downs Band sort of originated from, was me meeting him.
He's a great player, and he's got a really good voice as well.
Great voice. Although I had to force him to play lead guitar. Without going into the politics of bands, there's been a few comings and goings, as I'm sure we've all experienced. But the lead guitarist at the time went. We won't go into that. And it was right before the release of our album, Believe. And I said, look, Steve, just go and do it. You can do this. I don't understand why you're not doing it anyway. And he was a bit begrudgingly put into the lead guitarist role. And he's a great lead guitarist, because when we're writing, when we're looking at lead guitar lines as well, we're looking at how singable they are. Like sometimes I'll go, you know what, this lead guitar, it should start with da-da-da-da. You sing it. And he's completely locked into that, because we're not all about whittle and, shredding and all the rest of it. So he's actually a brilliant lead guitarist, brilliant songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. I mean, he can play everything. He's got a load of Indian instruments that he can play. He's ridiculously talented. It really does get me down, actually. But yeah, a superb voice. And he was signed back in the day. I can't remember which particular band it was. So, and he was the front of the band, although he said he never felt confident being the front. So he has got an amazing voice. Thank you for noting that.
There was that song that you sing, and it was really funny because at the end of it, you apologised to his wife, where you sing a duet, and I can't remember what it was called. It was like "Let's Get It On" or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, and it's bouncing back between the two of you.
It's it's basically I mean I love Tina Turner and I Can Tina Turner, all those classics. It's an I Can Tina Turner classic, Baby Get It On. And even though we don't play many covers, and it's been done to death, that song, but I don't care. Like, we just love it. And it is really funny because it is a very sexual song. And then I've got his missus stood in front of me. You know, it's a little bit off-putting, to say the least. But, I mean, she's great. She understands it's stage banter. Thank God, else I'd walk off and she'd wrap the guitar around my head. So.
You say you don't really do many covers, but you did like an awesome Joe Cocker inspired, what's it called? Get By With a Little Help From My Friends. That I think that was the last song that you played.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's definitely in the Joe Cocker end of it rather than the Beatles end of it, isn't it? Yeah. Because you really ripped on that. You were truly going for it.
By the way, if you're going to pick a cover, that's possibly the best cover ever recorded, isn't it? Okay, can you name a better one?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the thing about it is as well, you never know if a song's going to work. You might love a song, but you never know if it's going to work in the context of how you're going to do it and how the band's going to align to it. But the one thing about that is, and we have had it for the encore for so long now, and, you know, me and Steve have said, should we still keep this? Because we've been doing it for so long. And I'm like, we should still keep it. I love this bloody song. And also, it's like a thank you to everyone because of the lyrics, you know, all you need is a little help from your friends. And, you know, it has got a big scream in it, which is actually, it's funny because when we've done supports before, and you've got like some really disinterested people on the front row, you know, and they're sort of looking at their phone, or you've had some like that, sort of like on the barrier. And you're like, oh, thanks, guys. And we've had that song in the set. And when it gets to that scream, I've launched myself over the barrier and sort of screamed in their face. And it's given me a lot of pleasure. So screw you, people that didn't listen. Thank you.
I was listening to your live album, Be Live, I think it's called, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's Piece of My Heart on it. Because I was like, oh my God. Like, I could really hear Janis Joplin when you were singing, but I don't know whether you chose it because of her version of it or Dusty's version of it or the original version. Oh, is it Irma Franklin?
Irma Franklin, yeah. Probably Irma Franklin, to be honest with you. People have made that Janis Joplin comparison in the past. I don't know if I do sound like it, to be honest. I think I mean, you know, some people think I do. I don't know whether I do. I'm not that croaky. I'm not, you know, but I think what is interesting about kind of like making that a bit more Janis-y sounding is kind of in the attack of the vocal, really, where the Irma one is a little bit more soully and restrained. So, you know, I haven't got that natural grit in my voice that Janis had got, but I mean, it's a very lovely comparison. But I think a lot of it is in the amount that it's attacked in that song. But again, it's one of those songs that it's just so much fun to sing. You know, what a great song.
And we should point out that you have been voted the best female vocalist by British Blues Awards twice.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was almost a fast show for a minute there, wasn't it? And you were voted best British Blues Artist twice.
Which was nice. It was very nice. Yeah. It was nicer because it was a public vote. So that was the thing that kind of really. And I won it the first time, and I thought, oh, that's it now. I can sort of like not stress. You know, I was sort of a bit stressed. I'd never won anything in my life, so I thought I really want to win this. And I won it, and I was like, yes! Mm-hmm. And then the next time it came up, I thought, well, it doesn't really matter because I've won it. Let somebody else win. Blah, blah, blah. And then when I won it again, I was like, bloody hell. Like, I think that was the time when I thought, blimey, like, thanks, guys. cheers. In this, I mean, there is in the UK blues scene. It's I don't know how much I want to get into that, but there is, I think elements of like it's almost like a popularity contest at times with who gets nominated for what. And I think new artists on the scene, which is great, get a lot of initial push. But it was lovely to win it at the time, and I didn't expect it, so it was lovely. It was very lovely, and I'll always be proud of that, I think.
And you're Bonamassa approved. Does that?
I know. Yeah, he won't invite me on his bloody cruise, though. Come on, Joe. Bloody hell, mate. Give a girl. No, I'm not bluesy enough for his cruise. I don't think. To be honest with you, I've got a bluesy voice, but we're not a blues band.
No, and that's what struck me, because like we've known each other for a few years, and it's kind of like, you've always been, from what I've seen, you're pigeonholed into the blues thing. But actually, when you stand in front of you and your band, it's blues influence, but it's not blues.
No, and that's always kind of, in a way, especially, I think my favourite album of ours, even though I love them all, obviously, is More Sinner Than Saint, which is probably the least bluesiest one. It's kind of more proggy, Pink Floydy in a way, if I dare to make that alignment. And so we've kind of, the blues police in the UK sort of go, Rebecca Downs, you're not blues, get out of here. And then the rock crowd go, well, you're not quite rock, you're too blues. So it's always been a bit of but I think you've just got to write the songs that you want to write and get them produced in the way that you want to get them produced. You can't go, right, I'm going to pigeonhole this into this just so it fits in with this little group of people, because if you're not making music for yourself, who are you making it for? It just, if you're not going to make yourself happy, there's no point. So yeah, I think I've got a bluesy voice, but not necessarily. We don't play a load of 12-bar blues, and that's it.
And what blues band would cover "Mama We're All Crazy Now"? Eh?
We would. Yeah, but it's a weird story, but yeah, I was waiting for a student to turn up, private lesson. They didn't show for what I can't remember. They were poorly, so I'm sat there in this room, rehearsal room, and something political. Trump had just, let's not get political, but Trump had come into the limelight. And I thought, bloody hell, we're all crazy now. And I thought, bloody hell, yeah, that song, that Slade tune. And I thought, I wonder what that sort of... Looked up the chords while I was sat there, and I've just got a little acoustic. And I thought, this would be great as a messed up ballad. And I sort of recorded it badly with me, on the phone, and sent it to Steve and went, what do you reckon about this? And immediately, me and Steve are always on the same wavelength. Immediately he'd create this whole demo around the whole thing. And it's like a messed up version of it, like an atmospheric messed up version. And the YouTube video is me sort of like pulling my makeup off and all that sort of thing, which was so much fun. But yeah, some of the Slade fans absolutely wanted to stab me. That was pleasant. And no, they were. So it was like Marmite. Some people absolutely loved it, and some people hated it. So
that just goes back to the gatekeeper thing, though, doesn't it? That you talk about the gatekeepers in the blues community. Slade have got their own gatekeepers. I mean, it's just kind of like, if you don't like it, don't listen.
I know, it's quite funny though. In the world of social media, it is very, very funny. Like, and I talking to Chantel McGregor, who's I know, and we were discussing about how people just desperately want to tell you if they don't like it. They're just desperate to tell you, And I think as women in music, and also in kind of not in a pop setting, it's just quite interesting, the feedback and the comments that you get on stuff like that. So you put something out like that, you get some absolutely visceral comments directed at what you look like, your age, what your hair's like. They get in deep. But I would really like them to know that it does make me laugh. I don't care. They have no idea. Darlings, I grew up in Wolverhampton. You think I ain't heard? You think I ain't heard shit? Come on now. But it makes me laugh because I think years ago, if I'd have been younger, I think it would have got to me. But now I just think, oh, mate, stop it. I mean, somebody said I had my hair a lot shorter than this. It's sort of going into a mullet, but I had it quite short at one stage. And we put out an advert for More Sinner Than Saint, which is always when you get some weirdos come out because it reaches new people that are not on your radar. And I had one comment from one guy saying, who's this Eddie Izzard? And I was like, and I absolutely wet myself. And I went back to him and I said, darling, that is absolutely hilarious. But by the way, I think Eddie Izzard's beautiful. Kiss. And you just think, it's just, it's a funny place. But yeah, people desperately want you to know if they don't like you or don't like it. Like, darlings, I don't care. Go and have a bacon sandwich or a cup of tea. Just chill out, please.
Which I think is probably the perfect response to it, really.
And to be fair, bear in mind how long we've been talking, probably the perfect place to stop with you not caring. Which obviously is doubly beautiful because clearly of how much you care about what you do and the thought and the effort and the creativity that goes into what you produce. But I've had a lovely time, is all I can say at this point in time. Rebecca, thank you very much for giving us so much of your Tuesday afternoon.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been rather marvellous.
Oh, lovely. And Jace, I guess I'll catch up with you and see you next time.
All right, mate. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. If you've enjoyed the show, then please remember to hit the subscribe button and share with other like-minded souls. For more information about 9 to 42, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at the Guitar Show UK. This has been an A Short Stories production.